The NHL is absolutely horrified of what just happened. As for the first time in a very long time, the Leafs came out and sent a serious message, but it wasn't just the crazy Leafs win that has everyone across the NHL taking notice. It was a few specific things that have the NHL absolutely horrified. We'll break down exactly what that is and discuss what it means going forward. We also have some interesting comments from the Leafs players, the Leafs coaching staff, and of course, the Ottawa Senators players and their coaching staff as well. So a ton to dive into today, folks. Before we get into it, if you're part of the percentage who aren't subscribed to the channel, this is the place to be for daily Leafs content. Your guys' support has been unbelievable. We're on the road to 16K subscribers. If you want to help us towards that goal and you're enjoying the daily videos, the live streams after every game, almost daily live streams, the way the schedule is going, smash that subscribe button. Darius, the vibes are absolutely electric right now. The Leafs are coming off of their second straight overtime postseason win. And I think that this has been the ideal start for the Leafs. Teams around the NHL have to be taking notice of this, and the Leafs sent a serious message. A ton of things to go over today. Let's start with this. The 3-0 series lead feeling finished the job. And of course, you're looking at the other side of the playoff bracket here, and you have the Panthers, you have the Tampa Bay Lightning. The Panthers have a stranglehold 2-0 lead on the Lightning. But regardless of that, Darius, this game was unbelievable, and the Leafs have now jumped into the top 3 of most likely to win the Cup, according to the Polymarket Sports, analytics here. Unbelievable, by the way. But the NHL is terrified of what the Leafs have just done, and there is a ton of reasons, including their defense, and most importantly, some interesting comments in their coaching staff.
Yeah, I mean, the NHL isn't terrified of Simone Benoit's overtime winner per se, like that alone. They're terrified of the Toronto Maple Leafs and what they're doing right now. This is a different Toronto Maple Leafs team, and we don't know who they're going to play in the second round. Right now, at this point, it looks like the Florida Panthers, but you never know what can happen. And any series, and the Leaf series is not done yet either, but everyone's playing well. Everyone has bought into a system that Berube has brought forward, as well as the new head coach of the Toronto Maple Leafs. And, it's the small things. They're hanging around in games like this. They're limiting the Sens' shots, right? Like the Sens had barely any scoring opportunities or high danger scoring chances. And the one goal that they did get to tie the game, the Brady Tkachuk goal, wasn't a very good goal, right? And those are going to happen sometimes. But, they're really limiting high danger scoring chances. A lot of the Sens shots are coming for the entire series are coming from the perimeter. The Sens' best game was game 2 so far in this series. I thought the Leafs had a lot of pushback tonight as well, and they're finding ways to get it done. Their power play is clicking at over 50% right now. Is that sustainable? I don't know, but ride it until it isn't, right? Until it's not working. So that's been great. Their penalty kill has been fantastic as well. So lots to like with that, and they're just playing the right way. They're winning a lot of puck battles. They're winning a lot of face-offs. They're, washing the Ottawa Senators in a lot of these face-offs. So, they're winning battles in these areas that you need to win battles in the playoffs to be able to win. And I feel like there's been a mentality shift a little bit. Matthews breaking Ridley Gregg's stick over the boards back in Toronto, like a couple of these things, right? And they're not, falling into the trap of the Ottawa Senators. They're not playing or taking retaliatory penalties. I feel like the officials were definitely a story last night, that's for sure. But, they're playing really well. And I think this is a team that finally Leaf fans can actually get behind and feel confident in. And they're on the brink of a second round berth here. They wrap it up quickly on Saturday. You want to get some rest before you play whoever you're going to end up playing, either Tampa or Florida.
Yeah, quick turnaround. Again, they play tomorrow, like you mentioned. And obviously this team, very quick turnaround, but this team, we know on paper, it's the best team they've had in the Core 4 era. I think that's pretty safe to say, at least defensively and probably in general with the maturity they've had. But that wasn't going to be enough. If you have Sheldon Keefe behind the bench and you coasted through another regular season, even with the core of the Core 4 playing better and the defensive improvements that Brad Living has made, they needed something to shake him up. And the way they played in the regular season, we said it all year long, they're winning faceoffs at an incredible rate, and they've done that. They were top 2 in the NHL. I think they may have finished even 1, but they're one of the best teams in the NHL. Faceoffs at the dot, you have the defense being fantastic. And the most important thing here is the goaltending, with Anthony Stolarz pulling up his post-game interview in his OEL hoodie, which is very nice to see, especially even after kind of the goal that OEL, kind of costed the Leafs in the Game 2 victory. And that's been well washed now out of their, out of their system, out of their memories. But regardless of that, you mentioned it. Everything is clicking for this team, and I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit as it pertains to playing Tampa or playing the Florida Panthers, but none of that really matters now in this moment. What matters is taking care of business on Saturday, but regardless of that, you have patches coming out. This is, of course, the Impact Scorecard. We use this on our stream a lot. It doesn't tell the full tale, but it tells a pretty decent tale. But you have guys like patches. You have guys like, every single player. Simone Benoit, we'll dive into again in a minute, playing some of the best hockey, specifically Benoit, of his career, and patches coming in and doing exactly what I said he needed to do, what you said he needed to do, be physical, finish the game yesterday with 7 hits. And then you have Benoit scoring the game-winning goal. Like, that is your sixth defenseman. You can go up, and for the first time in a while, I'm confident with this team going up against anybody, even the Florida Panthers, as scary as they are, as dominant as they have been in previous years. You have your depth, and you can see here from Kevin BX, a ton of different guys. Of course, he's on the panel as well. Simon Benoit is the perfect mold for the 6D. Physical, he wins more than 50% of his battles. I love the way he plays. This was before Game 3 yesterday. Everything is clicking right now, and it just feels confident. It all starts realistically with the move that Brad Treliving made to bring in Anthony Stolarz. He has set the table, and he's outperformed Ullmark every step of the way. This is his 11th straight win, by the way, in games where he started, which is an absurd stat dating back to the end of the regular season.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is the key piece, I think, from the offseason last year, shoring up the goaltending. We knew what Joseph Woll brought to the table, but we didn't know if he could stay healthy. And I feel like Stolarz has just been the number one guy pretty much the entire season. We've been talking about it at times, and obviously he had that injury that he got over, mid-season there. But he's been the guy the whole time, and he's making the saves that he needs to save. I think he's only let in 2 goals this entire playoffs that maybe you could pin on him. But again, there's bounces. It's a game of bounces sometimes, right? So I wouldn't pin anything on him specifically yet, right? He's been fantastic. And then when you look at Benoit, I mean, we got to look at the work that Brad Treliving did in the summer to bring in all these defensemen, right? All these guys with experience to push Benoit down. So now he's in this role where he does look a lot better, right? Especially in the playoffs, and the way that he plays lends to the playoffs. This is why they kept him around. This is why they got him. So, he's been fantastic. And I think, there was a lot made out of, Craig Berube, and we have a quote from both of them, Craig Berube and Simon Benoit, to get to in a second. But Craig Berube was talking about, play with some more confidence. You don't have to play on one side of the puck. You don't have to play on one side of the ice all the time. Like, skate the puck up if you have room. Play with some confidence. And he's been doing that the last 2 games. He has an assist on the overtime winner in game 2, and he scored the overtime winner in game 3. So he's been absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, and let's dive into those quotes. Let's not waste any more time with that. You can see this here from Benny. Well, I don't score a lot of goals, so yeah, I would say yeah. And of course, he was asked if this was the most important goal of his career. He scored, I believe, 7 goals, either before this or this was his 7th. So, I mean, at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, of course, it's the most important goal of his career. And then he's looked good. He looked like good offensively in previous games, and he also looked good offensively prior to this specific goal. Like, he was driving play, which is crazy. You have Berube coming out and saying Benny's played extremely well for us defensively and being hard to play against. It's nice when guys like that are rewarded with a big goal. We saw Domi with it in game 2. Game 3, you have Benoit, kind of unexpected guys for actually scoring the game-winning goal, but it all comes down to that. And the core 4 are performing. 6 points for Matthews, or for Marner, 5 points for Matthews, 4 points for Willie, and Benoit with a goal and an assist. I'd add Morgan Riley in there if I was the one who made this tweet. Morgan Riley as well. You have him performing. This is the best hockey I said in the stream in years that he's been playing. Like, he's playing great offensively, great defensively. Yes, a couple of his goals, a little bit of luck, a little bit of flukiness. That happens at playoff time. And you mentioned it earlier. It's a very good point. And you can see here from Sergey. Regardless of what happens the rest of the way, Brad Treliving has proven to be a significantly better GM in just 2 years than the previous guys. Stolarz, Benoit, Lorentz, OEL, Tanev, Berube have a massive addition to what looks like the best Leafs team in decades. And to be honest, again, I'm not going to say that because stuff can change in his tenure, but so far, specifically the additions of Stolarz, Benoit, Lorentz, and OEL as well. But again, like Tanev and OEL, they're fairly big names. And of course, the Leafs were linked to Tanev forever. It's the guys like Lorentz and Stolarz that not a lot of people are talking about. Those are the moves that define you as a GM, along with your big moves as well. And they have been unbelievable, especially a guy who doesn't get a ton of credit, Steven Lorentz.
Yeah, and Scott Laughton's been good as well on the 4th line, right? Like, some of these guys that he's brought in, I think that he's done a fantastic job as GM of the Leafs so far. Carlo, right? Like, that's a move nobody saw coming, and it's made the team that much better. They're hard to play against. Something this year feels different. It just does. When you look at the goaltending, the defense, like, they're a better team on paper. We know that. Maybe the best of this entire era, probably, right? At this point on paper, something feels different. Like, they're actually going for a Stanley Cup. Like, everyone's on the same page. They bought into what the coach is saying you need to do in order to win the Stanley Cup, because he's been there and he's done that. He's an experienced coach, right? So it just feels like they've all bought in, and something just feels different about the way they're playing and their mentality. Just the way that, it just looks like their game out there has matured a little bit overnight almost, right? From last year to this year. Like, last year was a lot of the same problems, and then this year a lot of the top guys are not making the same mistakes, and like you showed there in that graphic earlier, they're actually scoring in these games, in these big games when it matters. So it's been fun to watch.
Yeah, and one quick thing, Brady Kachuk on the atmosphere in Ottawa. I do want to mention this because got to give some credit to the Ottawa Senators fans. It was mostly Ottawa fans, at least
Yeah.
verbally from what we could hear. Of course, we're in the arena. They were doing some things to keep Senators fans out. I heard that they were giving people who presented Ottawa ID discounts or something like that. I don't know how true that was. I'm pretty sure it was true. Residents of Ottawa get some sort of discount. Brady said it was unbelievable. Probably the coolest atmosphere I've ever played in. Honestly, I can't really describe it. I came out there, I had immediate goosebumps and chills. It was special. So it was a special loss, unfortunately. Well, fortunately for us as Leafs fans, but unfortunately for him. And I don't really like Brady Tkachuk as a player. I think he's pretty dirty, all these different things. But at the end of the day, I wanted to bring this up because it goes to show how important this win was for the Leafs. And you mentioned it. We spoke about it off camera. The pushback, we knew the Senators were going to come out fired up. The Leafs pushed back in the first 10 minutes. They gave up a goal. They bounced back. And then, of course, they gave up a pretty bad goal from Stolarz. They then picked up Anthony Stolarz, won the game, moving on to game 4. Ladies and gentlemen, for the first time in a very long time, since 2001 or 2002, the Leafs have a 3-0 lead heading into an important game 4, and hopefully we can repeat history for the first time since 1967. But that'll wrap it up. At the very least, let's just enjoy the fact that the Leafs are 3-0. Kind of crazy. I'm not sure many people saw it coming, even if you had the Senators winning or the Leafs winning the series in convincing fashion. I feel like most people predicted the Leafs to lose game 3 or something like that. But ladies and gentlemen, enjoy it. We'll see you guys later for another video.